Welcome back to class, soulmates, and on today's class we'll be taking you through trousers pattern drafting. I'm Balki's of Senior Fashion Institute. As you can see, I already have my borders, which I usually call guidelines. I have it at the top, on the horizontal side, and the vertical line. So to start with, I'll start by taking my vertical measurements, and this line represents the waistline. Let me notice down here, waistline. Then from the waistline, I am going to measure the hip line, and the hip line for this class is 8 inches. I'll mark it down here and across. I'll go ahead and mark it down and connect the straight line like this. Then the next line will be the crotch line. For the crotch line here, it is 9.5 inches. So I'll measure the 9.5. To measure your crotch line, I'm going to put a pictorial representation of how to measure the crotch line in the video so you can see how to go about it. Then I'll connect it to the straight line like so. Then the next thing to get is your thigh line, and it's usually 3 inches below the crotch line. Just mark 3 inches below the crotch line. Place your tape from the crotch line like this and mark 3 inches below like this, and then connect with a straight line also. Then the next thing I need to get is the knee line, and the knee line for this class, you are taking that on your client. So the knee line for this class is 19 inches. I'll mark the 19 inches here, and also do the same here. Then also connect with a straight line like this. And the next one is going to be the trouser length, and the trouser length is 38 inches. So I'll measure the trouser length below here like this, mark it down, and also mark it down here, and then go ahead and connect with a straight ruler like this. Then below this line for my hem line, I'll make use of, for my hem, I'll make use of 2.5 inches below the trouser length, 2.5 inches like this. Then connect it also like this. So this serves as the fold at the hem of the trousers. So the first measurement I'm going to take horizontally is the hip measurement, and the hip measurement for this class is 38.5. So I'll measure 38.5, which gives me 9.6 inches. So I'll go ahead and mark it down like this and add 0.25 ease. 0.25 ease, like so. I've marked it. So whatever I have here, I'll go ahead and mark it down all through from the waistline to the crotch line. This is the crotch line. Let me give you all mine. This is waistline, hip line, crotch line, knee line. I have, thigh line. This is the thigh line. This is knee. And I have my ankle line here. So I'll go ahead and transfer the same measurement to connect on a straight line. On this is 9.8 inches. So I'll mark it down here also as 9.8 on the crotch line and also on the waistline like this. Then connect it straight. divided 0.25 is allowance my hip divided by 4 inches, and that is what we have here. So the next thing we are going to do now is to get the waist measurement. For the waist measurement, I'll be taking it from this side. Note that I didn't take it from where I took the waist hip measurement. So I'm taking it from here and I'll mark it down here. And the waist measurement is 27.5 inches. So for 27.5 inches, I'll mark it down here like this. I'll mark down waist divided by 4. Then add 0.25 is allowance. Then also add 1 inch that allowance. Let me take that again. I'll mark down waist divided by 4. I have it there. Then mark down from there, from that point I'll measure 0.25 inch outward like this towards the side. Then from that 0.25, which is the ease allowance, I'll measure my 1 inch that's allowance. Then I'll connect to the hip line with this curve. Like this. So I connected it to the hip line like this. Now that we have connected the waistline to the crotch line, we're going to go ahead and confirm the measurements we have here. The measurements we have here, and divide it by 4 inches. Just place your tape on fold like this, and then fold it again like this. Then you have the division by 4 inches. So I have 2.5 inches. So it's the 2.5 inches that I will take from this point on the crotch line outward to get the curve of the crotch. So I'll mark down the 2.5 inches here. So I'll go in by 1.25 here, mark it down, and I use it to connect my curve like so. Here. Connect it like this. And I make sure I get it connected to this point like this. You just have to place your curve in a way that you have a perfect curve. So I have it that way. Then I've connected it. So let me trace it out again. Connect it like this. So that is it. And then the next thing to do is to confirm the measurement from this crotch line to this our line here, this side line here. So whatever we have, we're going to go ahead and divide it by 2. Divide it into 2 like this. So I'll mark it across this pattern like this. So I'll mark it across the block. So that is it. So now that we have the midpoint, we're going to go ahead and take the other measurement. The thigh measurement is 19.5. So divided by 2 inches will give me 9.75. So I'll go ahead and place the 9.75 here like this. Make sure that you get the midpoint of the 9.75 because you're about to distribute that measurement on both sides. So this line will serve as the midpoint for the measurements you are taking. So 9.75, I'll mark it down here and also mark it here. So this is the 9.75 that I need. Then I'll measure for the knee line also. For the knee line, I have 15 inches. Then 15 inches divided by 2 gives me 7.5. 7.5 divided by 2 will give me 3.75. So I'll put the 3.75 on this center line and mark my 7.5 like this. Then the next one is the ankle circumference, and that one gives me 9 inches divided by 2 will give me 4.5. So 4.5 divided by 2 will be 2.25. So I mark that with 4.5 here and also mark it down here. Then connect with my cords and ruler. So I'll go ahead and connect this side also. And that is what I have for the front side. For the hem, you cannot connect it straight like this. The way it is like this, you have to use the upper part to trace it out, because you don't want to have a situation whereby while you are doing your hem, you are short of fabric. You don't want to be short of fabric while doing the hem. You observe that when you cut it straight, normally, you usually have some folds around that part. I'm not using a transparent paper, but I'll try my best to use my eye very well. It's a bit transparent, so I'll be able to get the lines that I have for this. So I want to use the line on the block, on the trouser block. That's what I want to use for the hem. So I'll just mark it down like this and also do the same from this side. So it's this same line that I'm tracing out. If you want to do something like this and you are able to get transparent paper, please go ahead and use it. It makes your work easier and faster when drafting your trousers. But I don't have a transparent paper ready now, so I'll just make use of what I have here for this tutorial purpose. So I'll go ahead and connect it together like this. So can you see? So that is what we have for the hem. And then the next thing to do is to take in the dart measurement. Remember, we left 1 inch allowance for the dart. So I'll take 0.5 on this side and also 0.5 on the other side. So for the depth of the dart, I'll make use of 5 inches for the depth of the dart. So I've marked it down, then I'll connect it with a straight line. Like this. And like this. So I also want to explain how to get your slipper fly. But before I do that, I'm going to transfer the sewing allowance on the sides of my pattern. So I want to mark down ½ inch around, all around the pattern, like this. So now I am done transferring the allowance around the trousers, the pants. So as you can see, I have 0.5 inches all around it like this. So the next thing I want to do is these bonus that I want to add to this class. Thank me later. From this point, I'm going to measure 2 inches outward from this line, this inner line. So I'll measure 2 inches here, 2 inches, then 2 inches this point, Then I'll connect the straight line to the hip line like this. So you have to join me on the machine to sew this zipper fly. So this is all you need to do. Is that simple for the zipper fly, and that is where I'm going to stop. That's where it ends. Sorry, this is just how to drag the zipper fly on your trousers. Then I also want to add side pockets to it. So from this point, this inner line, I'm going to measure 2 inches inward like this, then make it about 6 inches deep. So I'll mark down the 6 inches here. So here is my 6 inches. Then I'll connect with whichever type of curve I want it to have, whichever way I want the pocket to look. I'll just use my free hand. So that's where I have it. Then I can now use this curve to smoothen it out. So that is the pockets. For the pockets and facing, I am going to go ahead and I want the wideness of the pocket to get to this point. Yeah, it's good at this point, but the length will be on the hip line. Or if you are not sure of the pocket, the wideness of the pocket, just place your hand, if it's your size, place your hand inside like this to get the wideness, if it's okay for your hand, so that you don't have a pocket and then your hand is not going in. So I'll just trace out the lines that I want. Let me draw it out. So I want it to be here, and I will go ahead and draw a straight line there. I won't make it too, okay, let me just mark it down like this. It's quite faint because I don't want it to look different. So now that is it. Then it's starting from this hip line, so I'll use my hand to curve it out like this. Like this. So that is the pocket. So now I want to trace it out. I want to trace it out on both parts. So to trace it out, I am starting from this line like this. That means I have added the allowance. So I'll trace it out like this. I doubled the paper underneath. If it was a transparent paper, I don't need to put it underneath. I'll just put it on top and trace it out. But it's not transparent, so I doubled the paper for the pocket itself and the pocket facing. So I'll trace it out like this. The lines that I need for the pockets. This is the hip line. If you want it deeper, then go ahead and do that. But I am okay with that length. That is why I stopped there. Then I'll also trace this out to the hip line. This is the allowance for the side. Then connect it and also trace out the opening of the pockets like this. Although I'll be needing the opening for only the pockets, I don't need it for the pocket facing. So I am done tracing, then I'll open it up like this. I have the pocket, so I'll just trace it out like this. So now that I have done that, I'll cut it out. can you see? This is the pocket facing, and this is the pocket. But for the pocket, I'll cut out this shape like this. And also cut the shape out on the pants. Can you see? So if I place it now, while the facing is there, this is what I am expected to have when I sew it. So you just place it like this. Can you see? So this is the facing, the pocket is ready. Can you see the pocket? So that is it. And then we'll proceed to the back. So now to trace out this pattern, I already traced it out, but I need to show you how to go about it. That is why I am doing this video. So to do that, you just need, this is a tracing wheel that I use in tracing out pattern. Since I am not using a transparent paper, I am making use of a tracing wheel. So I use the tracing wheel to trace out the lines and whatever part that I need. So I need just the inner lines. I don't need allowance. So I only traced out the inner lines like this. So I already did that, and I traced out these lines too, the horizontal lines, traced it all out. Then the next thing is to open it up like this, and there I have the pattern. This is going to serve as my guide for the back part. So what I am going to do now is to use dotted lines to trace it out, because I won't be needing this front pattern on the back part. I just need it as a guide. So I advise you make use of dotted lines when doing your sew. It doesn't get confusing. So I'm making use of dotted lines to draw out the front pattern like this. So as you can see, I have traced out the front pattern with dotted lines. I don't want us having too much lines because we are going to draft our back pattern on this paper like this as it is now. So you will most likely be seeing, maybe faintly, you'll be seeing these lines. I don't want to draw them out. As I said, I don't want too much lines. So you'll be seeing these lines. They'll serve as my guide through this back pattern explanation. So the next thing we want to do now is to divide this point from the waistline, from this point to the center here, like this, from here to here. You divide it into two like this and mark it down. Keep that one there like that. Then the next thing we're going to do is come out toward this point here, this crotch line, by 2 inches. If you have maybe a plus size you're drafting for, please make use of 2.5 or even 3 inches. Then I'll connect with a line. I'll connect the line because the line is not showing, so I'll just connect it out like this. So I have a line here. Then I'll come down this point by 0.5 inch and mark it down like so. So the next thing I'm going to do is to measure what I have from this point, this crotch line, inward to this line, this hip line that we got before in the front pattern. So on the crotch line, I am going to measure what we have from here. This is the front pattern, the punch line for the front pattern. So I'll mark it from here to this point like this, that line, that hip line. I will measure what I have there. And what I have there is 2.5. So I'll go ahead and transfer that 2.5 here on that point on that center point that I mentioned earlier. Just place it there straight and mark it down like this. So now the next thing I want to do is to connect my crotch. So here I am going to come out by 2 inches like this. Then I'll go ahead and connect this point. So I'm trying to connect my crotch, making sure that it is not too deep. Remember, don't make it deep. And this one is even almost flat. Can you see? Then I'll use this to connect it straight to that point like this. This point that I took upward earlier. So I'll mark it down like this. So I have the crotch for the back. I am going to most likely have to trace out the back with a marker so you can see. So the next thing I am going to do is I need a line here. So I need it to come out. So I want to draw the line like this. So here I am going to measure what I have here like this. This is the waistline. From this point to this point, I'll measure it. So that is what I want to measure now. I'll measure it down like this, 8.1. So that 8.1, I'm going to place it from here to this line. So I have a slant line like this. Remember that the reason why this back pattern is going up than the front is because we have a bum at the back, and most times when we make it equal to the front line, you observe the back of your pants is getting saggy, coming lower than the point you want it to get. Sometimes it will even be showing the pants and all of that. So to avoid that is the reason why we're coming up this line like this. Then we'll go ahead and connect it to this line. So can you see what we have? So at this point, I am going to, because we need to connect this part to form our trousers. So at this point, on the thigh line, I'll come outward by 1 inch here. 1 inch and mark it down. Then use the curve to connect it together. So I'll keep taking that 1 inch through the pattern. On this knee line, I'll measure 1 inch. On the hemline, I'll also measure 1 inch. Then on the other part, I'll start from the knee line. You know, I started for this one, the inward taking of the outer taking of 1 inch. I started from the thigh line for this part, which is the side part. But for the inner trousers part, I will measure 1 inch from the knee line and also 1 inch outward on the ankle line. Then I'll connect with my curve. So there you have it. Then for this one, I'll also make use of my curve. So we are not done. I'm still going to do the same thing we did for the front, for this back pattern too. But before I do that, we need to track the that legs. So to get that leg, we're going to measure from this point to the midpoint. I have the line here, so I'm making use of it here now. I have 3.6, so I'll go ahead and input that 3.6 on this line as it is like this. 3.6, mark it down here. Remember, this part is straight, so you do the same thing on this side. 3.6. Then I'll make the length 5 inches. Just make sure that the line is straight. Okay, let me connect the line first. I used 5 for the front, so I'm going to use 4 inches for the back. So I'll mark down 4 inches here, then use 0.5 here and 0.5 here, then connect it. Like this and like this. Then the next thing to do is the hem. So I want to trace out the hem to avoid, as I have earlier stated, to avoid falling short of fabric while hemming it down. So here I have it, then I'll trace out what I have like this. I can see it, you may not be able to see it, but I can see it. That is why I am tracing it out. But if you're going to have challenge doing that, fold it underneath. Let me do that so we know how to go about it. In case you cannot see it, just fold underneath like this. If you were using a transparent paper, it won't be difficult. If I was using a transparent paper, it won't be difficult to get it that way. But let me show you how to get it. In this case, just use your tracing wheel to trace out the line like this, and do the same thing for this side like this. Then open it up and you see the line clear and clean. Then you connect with your ruler like this and like this. So now I just went ahead to trace out my back pattern so that we can differentiate which one is the back and which one is the front, and then we have it. This is the back pattern. Voila, that is it. Except for the fact that we have to trace it out and all of that, the back pattern is actually easy to get. So that is the back pattern, and we've come to the end of this class. Thank you for joining me. Meet me on the sewing machine for the cutting and sewing of the trousers.